Hey guys, what's up? I'm Zach. Welcome to Zach's Soapbox. This is the video for the week of Friday, May 16th, 2025. Welcome to my channel where we talk about whatever I want. It's a variety of things. So far we put up a poetry video on disability, an introductory video, a video full of dad jokes, stuff like that. Before you ask about my hat, it's a Soviet field general's hat and field general's cap. It's one of my hats out of my collection. If you dig it, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. But anyways, man, I've kind of talked about this before too, but I've felt like why not retread some old territory, being we got a new channel and it's 4 years later and we got things going on. So the topic for this week is kind of crippled. You know, as you know, I'm wheelchair bound and I have cerebral palsy. But I always just wanted to say that crippled is a state of mind. And you're only as crippled as you think you are. Someone once said, I believe it was Emma Goldman, that those who never dare to move never realize their chains. And I think a lot of times when it comes to disability, sometimes people kind of don't really truly realize their potential because they've never been pushed to do things. Or had to do them on their own when they really can, but they think they can't. You know, like growing up, see, I grew up in a different kind of household. Growing up, I was forced to walk with like a K-walker and stuff like that. And every time if I fell, I got my ass whooped, you know, which is not something I would condone. I don't condone child abuse or nothing like that. You know, but had that not happened, what I have really learned, my own highest, but sometimes it's like through struggle and through strife is how we grow. And sometimes it's like the worst things in life can be learning experiences. And Oscar Wilde, the famous Irish playwright, once said that experience is something that we give to our past mistakes. You know, and I live in a building with other disabled people. And kind of what brought the idea for this video on today was I was sitting outside and I was talking to my neighbors out in the parking lot and, you know, oh, what are you doing, Zach? Oh, I'm just out getting some sun. I finished my workout, you know, because everybody knows I weight train and everything like that. And, well, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, man, I'm going to go in and roll another blunt. Which not, you know, if that's what you want to do and that's your thing, that's fine. But it's also like there's got to be a little more to life than that. You know, I see a lot of people in here with caregivers they don't really need. I see a woman in here who, yes, she's older, but she used to be able to walk, and she used to walk a lot more, but now she bought a wheelchair off one of the other old neighbors, and she's in that all the time. So the more you're in the wheelchair, the more you need the wheelchair. Admittedly, I used to crawl around a lot more on my hands and knees, but I don't do that as much anymore because now I live in like a handicapped apartment like I have mainly for the last, say, since 2009, so 16, 17 years, I'm pretty much in a handicapped accessible apartment, so I'm kind of more forced to be in my chair because it's designed for you to be in your wheelchair all day. I kind of miss crawling around, to be honest with you, but neither here nor there. But, you know, some of the life experiences I've had, like I've rode on motorcycles, and I've had girlfriends, and I had sex with my girlfriend in my sister's bed, and, you know, like growing up and shit, one time my cousin was picking on me and I grabbed a hold of him and I fucking whopped him a good one, and I was only like 6 or 7 years old at the time, and he never picked on me again. Stuff like growing up, you know, my cousins and that, we would all have Royal Rumble in a bed, and if you fell off the bed, you were out of the Royal Rumble. And I was allowed to compete in the Royal Rumble and be in the Royal Rumble just as any of my other cousins would. It was never, well, you can't do that, you're special, you're different. It was, well, if you fall off the bed, you're off the bed, you know? I was kind of always taught to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. Like one thing that was always said to me is, you know, the Lord helps those who help themselves. I find around where I live, I see, you know, like in Satanism, the main philosophical kind of precursor to Satanism is Frederick Nietzsche. Not Ayn Rand, but Frederick Nietzsche. And one of the things Nietzsche talks about is the dichotomy between the last man and the Superman or the Ubermensch. And I think that the last man is the one that's just kind of concerned with staying warm, staying safe, never kind of challenging or rocking the boat. Whereas the Superman or the Ubermensch is always trying to push his horizons. And I know the first video I did here for the page 2 weeks ago, at this point, when I'm recording this, I talked about how Vegas changed me. And I think one of the ways it changed me is it forced me to kind of, you know, when you move out of a small town to a big city, you move from a small box to a bigger box. So it kind of, and I have no one out here, and I don't know anyone, and I don't have a support system. So sometimes you don't know how strong you are till being strong is all you've got. You see what I'm saying? But I think part of being an Ubermensch is always looking for that challenge to kind of, because everything you do, you always want more, and it's on to the next thing, you know? I think that's human nature to always want to better yourself, do better than you did last time. At least for me, even with weightlifting today, I was 2 reps shy of what I can normally do. You know, when I say with this, particularly in this case, it's a bicep curl, but I did PR in dumbbell rows with a 140-pound dumbbell for 40 reps, which is a personal record. But I was 2 reps shy of my personal record for bicep curls with 60 pounds. So I was a little bit disappointed in that, but I'll just try again next session Monday. But rambling a little bit, but that's okay. But anyways, the point of this video is sometimes I think you're only as crippled as you think you are. Like me. I go, to the movies at least once a week. I go to concerts once in a while. There's a guy in here, he's a stroke victim. He's had a stroke. He's older than me, and he's like one of the, older people in the building, but he goes out more than I do. He went to an WNBA game, the Las Vegas Aces, things like that. Him and I seems to be like the only ones that really go out and do things somewhat regularly. A lot of people here, man, they're the type that as long as they got their, their booze, their weed, their whatever, they're good and they're fine. Man, I'm not like that. I can never be like that. Where as long as I got my alcohol or my drug of choice or whatever I do, I'm fine. Not that I care about what people do, but I wish there was more of a socialization sometimes. But I've had to learn to kind of create my own happiness through weightlifting, through cardio, through making these videos. I'm glad I got back into making the soapbox videos again. As you can see, the video's not moving around. It's because I got a tripod. Thanks to Hydra Morningstar for the idea. And I spent $20 and got a tripod off from Walmart for me. That's where I got mine. They sell them at Kmart and Target and stuff too, but I got mine at Walmart. It works just fine. But anywho, crippled is a state of mind. Even growing up, like fighting with my brothers and sisters, it's like one time me and my sister were arguing and she kicked me and kicked out one of my baby teeth. And then years later we were playing chess or checkers or something, and she'd been getting on my nerves and I'd been getting on her nerves, and finally it just came to a head and I just hauled off and punched her and broke her nose, and I've apologized profusely, for years, but and I feel bad for what I did, of course, but the point being is you wouldn't expect the handicapped guy to be the one that throw the first punch. The point being is that life isn't over. And what I see, like here where I live around other disabled people, is a lot of wasted potential. You know what I mean? Like there's a lady in here, they gossip and they smoke weed all the time. And they readily admit that they'll spend $400 or $500 a month, $600 a month on weed, when they could be doing that to go out and go to a Golden Knights game or anything really. But it's what they choose to do, and that's fine. I'm not trying to wave the flag and tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing. That's their money and their life and their thing, I guess. But when I moved in here, and like the brochure and oh, there's a community room. So I'm thinking it's a community room with like puzzles, a TV, something like that. Shit, the community room has empty tables and chairs and an empty refrigerator, and that's all it is. And like, the one thing about this place is there's no socialization. So unless like you smoke fucking weed and want to gossip about everybody in the neighborhood and know everybody's business, there's no real social life. That's one thing I was kind of disappointed about Vegas, is that here I am thinking I'm gonna move out here and like, meet people and be around other disabled people and be around I made the solipsistic mistake of assuming that because somebody has a physical disability that I'm gonna have something automatically in common with that person. When a lot of people age into disability, but there's a girl in here that has cerebral palsy that's much younger than me. She's like 25, I'll be 40. But her dad lives right around the corner, so like she's able to go over there and do laundry and has a helper right there. She has a PCA and a caregiver. Whereas a lot of these people, and like the one lady across the hall, she has a caregiver too, but she probably doesn't need it. Whereas me, you'd have to fight to give me a caregiver because I've earned my independence. You know what I mean? So I think I have a different mentality because, like, say, a lot of times when you're born disabled, you have to learn how to write, go to speech therapy, because a lot of cats with CP have like speech issues and speech impediments and different things. And my CP is different. CP is kind of a spectrum. It's hit and miss. You have everything with cerebral palsy. You have everything from people that walk to people that are wheelchair bound and have very little use of all four limbs and weakness in their limbs and things. So it's kind of a spectrum, so I kind of lucked out. Don't get me wrong there. I'm fully aware that, actually I'm pretty lucky considering. I don't get me wrong there. But it's just, a lot of people never pick up and move across country like I did, especially where I'm from. Like I have people on Facebook that are on my Facebook because we went to high school together. And they're still in Mercer. They're, they married, or their boyfriend is some other kid from our graduating class, because that's the dating pool back home. And it just is what it is. And they never know that there's a world beyond the 150 miles between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, that's almost disabling. But the whole point, I guess I'm rambling a little bit, but the whole point is, even going back to like when, me and Coop, when we were strapping me to the motorcycle and we're, strapping my feet to the motorcycle, okay, should we have been doing that? Should anything have happened? Could I have really been injured? Yes. But you know what? We took a chance and I lived life and I have an experience that I've rode a motorcycle, I love how people act like when you're disabled, like that you've never lived life, or that you can't live life, or it must be a sucky or shitty life. It's only a sucky or shitty life if you let it be a sucky or shitty life, and you let your disability kind of define you, when in fact your disability should be what's kind of making you a stronger, better person. I think that one of the cool things about being disabled is that kind of is, in Satanism we talk about herd conformity. It's the fifth satanic sin. And we talk about separating ourselves from the herd. I think one of the cool things about disability is it automatically separates you from the herd because it forces you to be adaptable. It forces you to think outside the box, to kind of look for the unexplored. I mean, the word occult itself just means hidden knowledge, or hidden knowledge. So I think sometimes when you're disabled, you have to find your way of doing things and cut your own path. And at the end of the day, isn't that part of what the left-hand path is self-enlightenment, self-empowerment, self-deification? That's the whole point of the left-hand path, is being your own God. So, and it's a very solitudinal path, but it's a path, certainly I feel it's for me. I think that, in order to truly be an Ubermensch, sometimes you have to kind of step outside your comfort zone and overcome yourself. When you've lived at home all your life and you've had mom and dad and caregivers and everyone to kind of wait on you hand and foot, which I've never had. I mean, my mom was never really there. She wasn't really supportive. Mom, there's something wrong. Oh, what? That sort of thing. But you know what, though? It's taught me to be better. And, you know, I've been through what I've been through, but it's made me a better person. You know what I mean? I mean, do I have to deal with, like, say, depression, um, you know, anxiety, sadness from time to time? Sure. But you know what? I'm also a fucking human being. And as long as I'm doing the best I can to overcome those, that's fine. But I just wanted to say that crippled is not a wheelchair. Crippled is not a cane. Crippled is not a stroke. Crippled is a state of mind. Because there are people in this world who always see things in dichotomies, in blacks and whites. So essentially they're colorblind because they never see a third side or multiple sides. So that in and of itself is a disability. To never have to adapt to try to overcome something is, in a way, makes you more handicapped, because you don't really see things as they really are. You don't see this, you know what I mean? Like people do it all the time, like with, you know, me, where they see the wheelchair, but they don't see me, the person. They don't see me, the YouTuber. They don't see me, you know what I mean? Like I said, I've went to college, I've had girlfriends, you know what I mean? People always assume like what a drab or sorrowful life being in a wheelchair must be, but it's not the wheelchair that makes it a drab or sorrowful life. It's people's disabling attitudes by kind of always assuming that because you're in a chair, it's doom and gloom and sickness and death, when in fact the chair itself should be seen as like a form of emancipation, or it's a mobility device, and that's what it should be seen as. It should not be seen as a sorrowful or as a tragedy. My existence is not a tragedy. Motherfucker, my existence is a triumph. I am my own God. Bow before me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, just rambling, guys, but the point is, you're only as crippled as you think you are. And the chains that are there oftentimes are only the chains that are put on by you and those around you. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes until you get away from certain people, you never really realize how strong you really are. You know what I'm saying? All right, guys, I'm over 17, 18 minutes here. I'm just kind of rambling, just some thoughts out there, but hope you enjoyed. Feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. It really helps boost the signal. Greatly appreciate it, man. And take care, and I'll see you next week, which would be May 23rd, Grandpa Varell's birthday. He would be, let's see, 37 to 25. He'd have been 88 years old if he was alive. So I'll see you next week, Friday, May 23rd, 2025. Again, feel free to like, comment, share, and all that. And I will see you next time. Later.